Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Jake Levine. I'm joined by Makenzie Freeman and Jasmine Grace, and we are here to talk about some UNT basketball. The Mean Green men's team pulled out a 72-62 win over the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs last night in Ruston, and it was a great game. Mean Green continued their win streak to pull it to 7 games.
Right.
And guys, what do we think about this? I just do want to mention that Sean is not with us today. Sean is feeling a little under the weather, so we're going to do it us three. Makenzie, what do we think about last night?
You can't be mad when your team finally gets a 7-game win streak, especially with the FAU loss. It got us closer in the running for the CUSA title. So, and overall, it was just a good game. So I don't really have any complaints there.
And mention that FAU also lost to Middle Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Right.
It's a little closer there.
Yeah.
Jazz?
I was very happy with the game. It got close at some times, but I think that these guys are just very good at persevering, very good at embracing those clutch moments, those moments where they have to make something happen, and it was just fun to watch as a fan.
Right. I also thought we saw a lot of guys step up in this last game.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of stepping up, we're going to go with our MVPs of the game last night against the Bulldogs. I am going to go with 2 because I couldn't really make a decision here. I think my MVPs are going to be both Abu Usman and Kai Huntsberry. Abu had 20 points on 8 for 14 shooting, 4 for 4 on free throws. How about that? And he had a double-double with only 2 fouls, so he stayed out of foul trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
He held down the paint really well. And then Kai, since Tyler Perry only had 11 points on 4 for 9 shooting, Kai stepped up with 19 points, led the team, and had 8 for 10 shooting on field goals.
Right.
So I couldn't really make a decision here, so I'm going to just go with both because I can, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, Makenzie, who you got?
I'm also going to agree with you. I think Usman had a great game, like you mentioned. He had a double-double, but also his defensive presence was great, too. He had 2 blocks, 2 steals, and for North Texas, they're very heavy on their defense, and I think for Usman to come out and have 20 points, it was just a good breakout game for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely think Usman had a great game. My MVP of the game is Kai Huntsberry. Abu was definitely a game changer, but Kai kept us steady and rolling throughout the whole night. He averages about 12 points, just over 2.5 rebounds, and just over 3 assists. And last game, he had 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists. So all of those are above his season averages. I just thought he played really well. As you mentioned, 80% from the field, 1 of 2, 50% from 3. So not only was he valuable, but he was efficient. And I really think that's game-changing. He also had a block and a steal. So he was just all over the place, made some noise for our team, and really helped us get the win.
We've seen that a lot from Kai this year, just the ability to kind of do anything, whatever the team needs. Coming down the clutch, he's the guy. And with Tyler Perry not having his best game last night, it's great to see him step up.
Right.
So we saw a lot of notable stats last night, right, in this game. So what do you guys think was a big thing that really changed the game? Looking at all these numbers, what do you think kind of glared out the most? Jazz, I'm going to start over there with you.
Yeah, I just think it was our shot selection and consistent pace throughout the game. Even in the second half when things got close, we just remained very poised. We know it's always going to be a tough battle against LA Tech. And sometimes when you have a tough battle, you force shots or you overdo it. But we did not do that. We shot 61.2% from the field, 45.5% from 3. And some things weren't even on our side. I mean, LA Tech had 13 offensive rebounds versus our 6. We had more turnovers than them. They had 5 more threes than us. And they had 6 more opportunities at the free throw line. And we still won by 10. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, just us being very efficient, us taking good shots and taking the shots that were given to us as an offense, I think that's really what changed the game.
I'm going to have to go with our 48 points in the paint. We were just bullying them that entire game. Guys getting inside the paint. We had 4 guys that game over double digits, even with Perry having not one of his better games. He had 11 points. Scott also had 11 points, one of his better games as well. So overall, I think having that high intensity presence in the paint is something that will lead us into having success in the CUSA tournament.
For sure.
Yeah, I like that a lot because, we see the Mean Green only took 11 three-pointers. They made 5 of them, right?
Right.
So I think they kind of know their limits, while Louisiana Tech shot 25 threes,
They did.
only made 10 of them. Around the same percentage, but it's all about shot selection, like you said.
Right.
And so Another thing that stood out that's been more of a theme for the Mean Green now is the free throw shooting, right?
Right.
We've seen it progressively getting better. They only took 9 free throws, but made 7 of them. That's going to be 78%. That is much improved from what we've seen earlier in the year. Do you guys think this is more of a thing of in practice or a confidence thing going through the year? Do you think it's a concrete thing that has changed the free throw shooting?
I'm going to have to say it's confident. It's definitely confidence within these guys. You've got Huntsberry, Usman, Scott. I just think the whole team's playing well. And I think when you're playing calm and you're playing collected, you're going to go into these games with the mentality and like with the focus. And so I think you see that in their free throw shooting, going from, you know, some of their games earlier in the season having 40, 50%, going 77. That's pretty good improvement. There's definitely a mental aspect to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very much mental. I mean, they know what time it is. It's getting time to go to the tournament. It's getting time to play some playoff basketball. So they know what they're going to have to do if they really want this game and these games to really just come down to them. And they know that free throws, they matter. They matter. If we're missing free throws, sometimes that can decide your entire game. So I think they're just really honing in, and they're making the little things be very important, which I think is what a playoff team is supposed to do.
Right.
Absolutely. And so UNT in this game, they were actually only favored by, I believe, 3.5 points here. At Louisiana Tech, it's always a dogfight when we play them.
Right.
At the game winner earlier in the year against La
Yeah.
Tech, we were up 18 at the half in that game, and Kai came through at the very end.
Yeah.
Last year, took them down to the wire in Ruston. So with this close win in a game that we were barely even favored, ended up winning by 10, how much weight do you guys think this has on maybe a resume or just going into the conference tournament? You know, how much confidence does this give us with FAU losing again? Pulls us within 1 game. You think this is more meaningful than other games that we've had, like maybe the Charlotte game, for example?
I think for the fans, I think stuff like that is meaningful for us. I think as the players, I think they're just focused on going out there and controlling what they can control, playing the games that they play, playing to the best of ability that they can. I think they're 100% aware of the numbers and what things will mean, but at the end of the day, they can't choose whether or not they get that at-large bid, whether, you know, they fall or whether they end up number 1 or win the conference tournament. Like, all the different possibilities, they're not in 100% control. So I think that they're just focused on playing the games. I think as fans, you know, we speculate all these things, but I think more than anything, they just have to continue to keep their foot on the gas and do everything that they're doing currently.
I mean, yeah, they're playing well, getting your 7th win in a row. That gives you some morale going into playoffs. And with FAU losing, they're actually probably going to go into this tournament, you know, with morale low because of losing their top 25 ranking. I definitely think we see them drop out of the rankings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, you know, UNT's on this streak with some of their guys breaking through just now. So
Yeah.
I think UNT keeps that ball rolling, play how they've been playing. They have a shot for the CUSA title.
Absolutely. And I know we asked this last week. We've only played 2 games since then, but I want to see if the answers have changed real quick. A UNT at-large bid. I love to mention it because I think it should be possible. I think this league could have 2 bids. What do we think? I mean, did anything change in terms of this? I mean, it was 2 wins, and not either of them were really important. But have our thoughts changed at all on this?
I mean, last week there were a lot of big losses in men's basketball, and I think this year is such a weird year anyways. Why not give CUSA that 2 bid?
Sure.
I mean, you've had FAU ranked the whole time. They drop out. UNT, if they get that CUSA title, I think they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Last week I said, oh, well, I don't know, because of teams like Gonzaga or other bigger schools that may have a better chance. But seeing FAU lose and seeing how well we're playing, as well as Makenzie said, some other teams around just college basketball losing, I say why not?
I say why not as well, especially going in with a win streak, right? I mean, what's it going to hurt? Throw the Mean Green in, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, when we come back, we are going to preview the men's game for tomorrow night, so stay right with us, and we will be back soon. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. Tomorrow night, the North Texas Mean Green men's basketball team going to travel down to El Paso to face the Miners, and it's going to be a good game, guys. We remember last time they played them. It was quite the contest. It's going to be at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So what do we think are going to be our keys to the game for tomorrow night? I'm going to start over there with you, Jazz, actually.
Yeah, sure. I definitely think that the key to the game is going to be offensive execution. We have to take care of the ball and continue to shoot at a high percentage. You know, last game we just shot so well. I think it's going to be hard to match that performance, but if we can, let's do it. Even though UTEP lost their game against UAB, they had 16 steals. Okay, so we do not want to let them create those turnovers, get out on the break, and just have easy shots because they had some tough shots last game. So I don't think we want to create those turnovers to allow them to get those easy shots. So for us, we need to stay locked in on both ends, and we need to get in the paint if our shots aren't there because Abu's coming off a really high game, and I could see him having another one.
I like that. Makenzie?
I'm also going to kind of go off of what she was saying. UTEP is #1 in steals, so we're definitely going to have to play great offense and, you know, just kind of know where each other are. I have faith in the team, though, because we've got guys who are having their breakout games. But also, I just think we need to get inside the paint. I mean, once Usman gets in that rhythm of being inside the paint, he looks unstoppable.
Yeah, I like that a lot. UTEP has almost 10 steals per game, I believe 9.3 per game.
Yeah.
And the last time these two teams played, it was 52-42 here in Denton. And UTEP had 18 turnovers, while UNT only had 7.
Yeah.
We could say that's easily a difference in a
Game
10-point
changing.
game.
Right.
For sure.
Right? So UTEP also had 15 more rebounds than UNT, but they were still able to win based off of those turnover margins. So I think that it really is going to be the key to the game for me, too. Now, who do we think is going to be our player to watch out for? I am going to go with Tyler Perry. He only had 11 points last game against Louisiana Tech. So I think he's going to need to bounce back to beat this UTEP team that played us close last time, held us to only 52 points. I think TP is really going to need to step up. Makenzie?
I'm going to have to go with Usman. I know I'm like a big fan of him right now, but I just think this guy's been on a tear. In the last 4 games, he's averaging 16.5 points, which is 5 points higher than what he's had all season. So I think, you know, he's really looking forward to this conference play, and I think, you know, now that he's had sort of that breakout moment, I think we'll see 15-plus points from him in this game.
Sure, Jazz?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kai Huntsberry. I love what I've been seeing from him, just kind of like this last game. And then overtime of the UAB game, he scored the last 8 points for us. He really stepped up, even though he only had 4 points up until overtime. He has really stepped up. And I think Tyler Perry will go back to his usual self in the next game. But I think Kai can really just be game-changing. We've seen Abu, we've seen Tyler Perry, we've seen Aaron Scott defending well. We've seen a lot of these things. But if Kai can give us a consistent number, a little bit above his season averages, I think that makes us go from a great team to a dangerous team going into these playoffs. And we got him for a reason. I think he was a great transfer for us. I think, you know, he's done so well, but I just think if Kai can step up, if Kai can get 15, Tyler can get 20 plus, Abu 15 plus, I mean.
Huntsberry's one of those sneaky players too. I mean, when he gets in the game and he puts up 19 points, that's something that the other team's just not going to expect. So I do think that's a really good pick for the player to watch because when Huntsberry's having a good game, it looks like the rest of the team's having a good game.
Absolutely, I love that. And now how about a little scouting report action? Let's go over to the UTEP side, right? So I'm going to go with my player to watch for UTEP forward, Calvin Solomon. He's typically a leading rebounder. He had 8 rebounds in the last time these two teams played each other. So I think it's going to be really important for Abu to control him in the paint if UNT wants to win. I think that could be a difference-making player in this game tomorrow. What do you guys think for UTEP?
I think for UTEP, we're going to have to watch out for Zarek Onyema. He went 42.9% from the floor, 71% from free throws, had 6 rebounds and 11 points. That's a pretty good stat line in a game that you lost by 10. I just think he's going to be a good matchup with the type of defense we have, and it'll be interesting to see how we guard him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the key player for UTEP is going to be Shamar Givens. They're going to need him defensively to try and stop our dynamic guards. You know, he had 6 steals and 2 blocks last game. And, I mean, obviously he won't have that every game, but he averages about two steals a game. So if he can defend well without fouling and put some pressure on our guards, Tyler Perry, Kai Huntsberry, just really around the perimeter, I think that could be game-changing because if he can create turnovers that gives them easy buckets, I think that's where the Miners will find success. I think our defense, when we're set up, I think that we are good, and I think that it's just going to be good.
Absolutely, I like that a lot. Now, we're going to go with a little different kind of half of a segment here. We've never really seen this before on game day. I've got this bowl I'm pulling out down here.
Ooh.
No, this is not oatmeal or cereal or popcorn. Popcorn is eaten out of a bowl,
That's too
right?
small of a bowl for popcorn.
That's true. Good point. So I have a bunch of names of UNT men's basketball players in here. I'm going to pull out 3 names, and we are going to debate a little start, bench, and cut action. Okay, are we ready?
Let's do
I'm
it.
ready. Let's do
All
it.
right. Our first name is Chris Morgan.
Okay. Okay.
And then we've got Jaden Martinez
Okay.
and Tyree Edie.
Ooh, okay.
Jazz, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Let's see it.
Oh,
Okay.
You've got Tyree Edie, Jaden Martinez, and Chris Morgan.
I'm going to keep it pretty much how it is in the lineup. I'm going to start Tyree Edie. I love what he brings on both ends of the floor. He's not the biggest scorer, but I just love, I think he's in the starting lineup for a reason. I love what he brings to the table. On the bench, I'm going to have Jaden Martinez.
Okay.
Love Jaden, love what he brings to the team. I think he does a lot of great things, again, on both ends of the floor. Very important piece. And then I'm unfortunately, not willingly, but unfortunately, going to cut Chris Morgan.
All right.
I
Makenzie?
am literally going to keep it the exact same. Chris Morgan, he's only averaging 2.5 minutes, so just go ahead, cut him off the team. Don't need him. And he's 0 of 6 on field goals, so just get him out of here. And then you've got
We've got Jaden Martinez and Tyree Edie. Yeah.
She just, that's all she was thinking about.
Jaden Martinez. I'm going to bench him. He's not a bad bench player.
Sure.
He's in the 30% on both field goals and 3-pointers. So if he gets hot, that's a good guy coming off the bench. And then obviously Edie, I'm going to start him. He's in our starting lineup anyways, and just he's a great presence for the team. So I'm going to keep it like that.
Well, if you'll believe it, I'm going to say the same exact thing. This is not very exciting, but I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to start Edie only because he is a starter. He's started all 27 games.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like him and Martinez are kind of interchangeable. Jaden Martinez actually not started a single game this year. And I'm going to cut Chris Morgan. I'm sorry, Chris. Okay, we are going to do another one.
Let's do another
because
one.
why
Yeah,
not,
come on.
right? The host of the show.
Let's do another
All right,
one.
we've got Christian Moore,
Okay.
Mr. Kai Huntsberry,
Okay. What's gonna be
and
the last one?
the Grayson Allo. Okay.
You should start.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
Go ahead, start,
am-
Jake.
I'm going to start here. I'm obviously going to start Kai Huntsberry here. He's our guy. He's
Yeah.
pretty much comparable to Tyler Perry at this point,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I think they're the same guy now. I'm going to go with Christian Moore. I've seen him play a little bit. I think he played a lot more early on in the season, actually.
Yeah.
He's played 8 games, you know. We've seen some shots made from him. And then I'm going to go with Grayson Allo. I'm cutting him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man, but that's just, it's showbiz, you know?
It's show business.
it's showbiz. Makenzie, what do you think?
I'm going to have to keep the order the same. I mean, Huntsberry, he's had great performances in the last 3 games. He's one of our starters now. And then, you know,
Christian Moore and Grayson Allo?
I cannot remember who you say. Christian Moore, he's actually pretty efficient. He's averaging over 40 on both field goals and 3-pointers. So I'm going to bench him, and then I'm going to cut Grayson Allo.
Yeah, he has only played 5 games
Yeah.
with a total of 8 minutes on the season as lowest on the team.
Yeah, and you'll never believe this, but I am gonna go with the same. Kai Huntsberry, we already know what he can do.
Right.
Yeah.
We kind of already covered everything about why we're gonna go with the rest. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's
Sure.
my pick, and that's how I'm gonna do it.
I like it. Well, when we come back, we are going to recap the women's game against Louisiana Tech Techsters.
Okay.
So stay right with us. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Jake Levine. I'm joined by Makenzie Freeman and Jasmine Grace, and we are back to talk about some more Mean Green hoops. We're going to switch it over to the women's side now, as we're going to recap this game against Louisiana Tech. They took a tough 13-point loss in Ruston. In Denton. This game was in Denton, 57-44. And we're here to talk about this. Guys, what are our initial thoughts on what happened today? Or yesterday, my bad. I'm going to start with you, Jazz.
All good, all good. Obviously, it was disappointing. We want to see our girls win. We know they have the potential individually and collectively. So it was a little disappointing. Seeing the low-scoring quarters was probably the most disappointing part about it. Knowing we have some girls who can get some buckets. You know what I'm saying? So I just hope they're able to squeeze out some wins as we get to the end of the season.
Yeah.
The first half of the game actually didn't look too bad. Both teams had slow starts from their offenses. They just weren't able to connect on shots. But the second half is really what killed us that game.
Yeah, I agree. And so, although we lost, we're going to have some bright spots here, right?
Yeah.
We're going to go with our MVPs of the game. We're going to start with the UNT Mean Green. I'm going to go with Anaya Johnson. She had 13 points, 11 rebounds. That's a double-double. That's her second double-double this year.
Yeah.
So she shot 4 for 7 from the floor. That's an easy pick. And it's kind of nice to see our player of the game not be Quincy Noble, right?
Right.
She kind of had a tough game. It wasn't too bad, though, but shooting percentage was kind of off. So I think it's good to see the Mean Green actually be able to rely on somebody else to still get the production with the points and the rebounds. What do you think, Makenzie?
I'm going to have to go with the same, even though Quincy Noble was our leading scorer. She's just one of those players that you would expect to lead this team, even if you are losing. And for me, she just doesn't have that leadership material. And so I really can't put her at the most valuable player.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Anaya Johnson as well. I was really impressed by her performance. Obviously, like you said, 13 points, 11 rebounds, and also a block and a steal. And she went 5 for 6 on free throws. I would have liked to see her get more shots. She was the person who was getting the Mean Green some buckets. So I would have liked to see her get more shots, especially since she was shooting well, knocking down her free throws. And La Tech has some tall girls in that paint, you know, 6'3", 6'1", and she was still putting in work. So I'm definitely going to go with Anaya Johnson. A great game by her.
Yeah.
And Louisiana Tech won this game, so we're going to give some love to the Techsters. We're going to do some MVPs for them, too. I'll start it off again. I'm going to go with Makenzie Worm. She had our highest point production of the year, only 11 points, but seeming she only averages 4 points a game. It's a good pick for MVP in my book. 5 for 6 from the field. I think it's nice to get production from a player you don't really expect it from, right? It might be just as valuable as having your star.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what do you think, Makenzie?
I'm going to go with Kiana Walker. She had 15 points, and she really did a good job guarding inside the paint.
Yeah.
And, when you hold a team to 0-8 from the perimeter, that's just good defense right there. So I'll give her the player of the game.
Okay. Well, those are two very good picks. But I'm going to go with Anna Laura Roberson. I think she was the MVP for UTEP. She didn't have the best offensive game, only 6 points. But rebounds, she had 11 of them. And she only played 24 minutes. So I think that's really solid. And she also had a steal and a block. So that's my MVP of the game.
All right. We like to see it. Well, there was a lot of kind of similarities in these numbers, right? Both teams made the same exact amount of field goals. There was one glaring thing, though. UNT failed to make a three-point shot in this entire game. They went 6 for 8 on free throws. Every single bucket was a two-pointer from there on out. They also lost the rebounding by 12. They had 10 steals compared to La Tech's 7, so that's a bright spot. They also had 17 turnovers. What do we think was the big thing that kind of lost us this game? Or was it a combination of everything? Was it mainly three-point shooting? What do we think? Jazz, go for it.
Yeah. I think it's just a consistent pattern, lack of halftime adjustments. And if there are halftime adjustments, they're not being executed. We scored 8 points in the second quarter, went to halftime, down by 8. We came out and scored 8 points again in the third quarter. And not only did we score 8 points in the third quarter, we got outscored 21-8, which is more points than we had in the first half at all. So I think that it's just, we have to do something in the locker room. I know it sounds cliche, but it's not always about how you start, but it's about how you finish.
Right.
Within 8, people have come back from way more than that. So we're not out of it at halftime. We just have to do more coming out of the break.
I like that. Makenzie?
I think what Jasmine said is on the ball. I mean, our third quarter struggles have continuously struggled throughout the season. The Techsters went on a 17-0 run in the third. They came out on fire.
Wow.
So while I don't think we did horrible defensively, allowing a team to go 17-0, that's not about you missing shots. That's not about you, we're just not connecting on offense. Some people have bad games. Defense, that's one aspect of the game you can control. And letting a team go on a 17-0 run when you're only down by 8, that's just something that shouldn't happen.
I agree. And let's not be fooled by the score, too. The fourth quarter was actually dominated by UNT, and they only lost by 13. So really this game was much more lopsided than it actually shows. So we love talking about how this team can improve, right? They really, I mean, they have a chance here. They're, 6-9 in conference. You can get back up to 500 before the conference tournament. What do you guys think? I know we talked about this last Friday. We're going to talk about it again.
Yeah, we should.
What do we think is going to get them to the hump to maybe just give us a glimmer of hope in the conference tournament? Makenzie, I'm going to start with you here.
I think if this team adjusts on defense, forcing the other team to turn the ball over, that gives you easy buckets on the offensive side. So if we can adjust our defense, that takes not really skill to do. It just takes hard work and effort. So if you just build up that mentality and focus in on defense, you'll see your offense come to life a little bit.
Yeah, Jazz?
I think on the court, they need to figure out how they're going to get the ball in the basket. It sounds very cliche. It sounds very just simple, but I think they need to figure out what is their best play, how they're going to run it, and I think they just need to really hone in on that. Off the court, they just have to mentally say, we're 0-0. I think looking at records can sometimes throw you off. I think if they can just try to win the game, like we talked about last week, win a quarter, that's not the last quarter, down by 30, I think that'll really help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something that UNT has struggled with this year, and they continue to struggle with, is the free throws. Now, they only had 8 attempts. They made 6 of them. That's fine, That's 75%. But they're shooting 66% on the year. That's 11th in Conference USA. So do we think that this is something that really changes the game for them each time and out? Or is it more coaching? Is it, I mean, we know coming out of the second half, that is always going to be a struggle. It's a very consistent thing. Do we think the free throws are really that big of a thing, being ranked that low in the conference? Jazz, I'm going to go here.
I definitely think so. I think it's one of many things. I don't think that's necessarily where I'm going to pinpoint the issues coming from. But I think last blog, with the men's, Makenzie was talking about how the UNT men's making their free throws was giving them confidence. And the reason they're making them is because of confidence. So I think that could contribute to maybe why they're not making them. Yeah. And I think that that's just something to consider. But I think it's going to have to be multiple things in multiple areas.
Right.
I think we've seen that this team does lack a lot of confidence.
Right.
Because I think to come out and play well in the second half, you need confidence, right?
Yeah, they just don't have that fire coming out of halftime.
Absolutely. What do you think about the free throws, Makenzie?
I think free throws in games where you're losing, by 7 or something like that are important. But when you're down by 30 going into the fourth quarter, like Jasmine said, it's a list of things. It's not just free throws. Free throws are one of the fundamentals, so of course you want to hone in on shooting and making those free throws. But overall, no, you can't just blame the free throws for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've really seen a pattern of just a lot of things not going right for this team, right? So real quick before we go, what is one thing that we want to see a difference in this team? Who is one player that we think can step up and continue to improve going into the conference tournament? Because Quincy Noble is not going to be able to carry the team the whole way. Real quick, Jazz.
Anaya Johnson. We saw what she could do against La Tech. And again, they have some tall girls down there, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". So I think if she can play really well on both ends, I think she'll be the game changer.
I'd like to see Lampkin step up a little bit. Yeah. She's in our starting lineup. She was pretty quiet last game. But if she can have herself better games, then it'll be good.
Yeah, it will kind of alleviate some pressure. So anyways, that'll do it for the recap. When we come back, we're going to preview the women's next game here in the Super Pit against UTEP, so don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. We have a game to preview for tomorrow night being played in the Super Pit at 7 o'clock, not 3:30 because the UTEP game against UAB was postponed, so they moved this game back a little bit to get them here a little better time. So we'll see if UNT gets a little advantage because of that.
Right.
So they are playing the UTEP Miners, and I think it's going to be important to lay out our keys to the game. And my key, as I mentioned last segment, is going to be the free throws. Again, UNT women's team is 11th in the conference in free throws, so I think it's going to be important for them to not only be physical to get to the line against this strong UTEP team. The UTEP women's team is 17-7, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're going to need to get to the line and take advantage from the charity stripe, because that's something they've struggled with all year. When you're playing a better team, you need to outplay your weaknesses, right?
Right.
So, Makenzie, what is going to be your key to the game for tomorrow night?
My key to the game is sort of just have faith in each other. Just go out and play this game. One thing I'd like to see is them, establish your plays and run through them. I think a lot of our bad shot selection in these games is coming from a lack of running plays, and it's kind of just get the hands in Noble, see what she can do. But there's some other girls on this team who actually are talented. I mean, you've got Hardaway, you've got Johnson. Those girls can score, and they've proven that in multiple games. So get an offense going with those girls, and I think that'll give you hope for this next game.
I like that, yeah. Jess?
Yes, I also think offensively, we're going to have to be big time. I think we have to come out strong. We cannot come out with fear. We can't come out with our heads held low from the last game. I think we have to really come out and put some pressure on the Miners. I also think that, like Makenzie said, we need more girls to step up. It seems like when we play, whether win or lose, it's a Quincy Noble game, or last game was a Anaya Johnson game, or we had a Hardaway game. Why can't we have all three?
Right,
Or why
exactly.
can't we have all of them together, So I think if we could piece put the puzzle together with all these girls and their leading scoring games, I think we can make some noise.
I like that a lot. And this UTEP team is really strong in Conference USA. I mean, they're going to be one of the better seeds in the conference tournament. So if UNT comes out this game, plays strong, heck, if we can win the game, that would be huge. I mean, as a confidence boost, they're on a 3-game losing streak. That'd be big going into the latter part of the season. But really just to play strong and play physical, have some confidence in this game, I think it would go a long way.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this UTEP team. We're going to have a player to watch. Jazz, I want to hear your player to watch first.
My player to watch is going to be Elena Arique. They beat Middle Tennessee, which was ranked number 21 a few games ago, and they ended their 16-game win streak.
Woo.
Yeah, so, and Arique had 20 points, 4 blocks, 2 steals. She was a big part of that. She's not always the big parts of the team, but I think in that game, if she could be the big part, then we definitely need to watch out for her, because she can be a big part at any moment.
Sure. Makenzie?
For UTEP, I'm going to go with Josiah Jackson. She's averaging 11.9 points per game. She's got 5.8 rebounds as her average as well. And then she's kind of a key component to this defense. She's been getting 2 steals per game. And with women's basketball, there is a focus on the defensive aspects, because women's, yes, you can have players that are just more talented, but with women's, you see a lot more of that, like, if you're putting in the effort and you're hustling on defense, you're getting those 50-50 balls, that goes a long way. So I think Josiah Jackson will be a big part for this UTEP team.
I've got the same as Makenzie. I've got Josiah Jackson. Like she said, almost 12 points a game, almost 6 rebounds a game. She's the leading scorer for this UTEP Miners team, and a team that is very strong. Star player is very important. We've seen UNT this year struggle to contain the star player on the opposing teams, right? That's kind of one of their flaws that's been standing out. So I think that would be really important for UNT to control her and keep this game in check. So on the other side, UNT player to watch, I'm going to start off. I'm going to go with Quincy Noble, because she shot 7 for 20 from the floor in her last game. So I think because she didn't meet her scoring average, the Stars need to shine tomorrow night, right?
Right.
I think for them to win this big game against a stronger opponent, she needs to have a leadership mentality and come out strong in this game. I think at least 20 points, 5 assists could get it done for us. What do you think, Makenzie?
I mean, Quincy Noble's the obvious pick, so I'm actually going to stray away from her on this one. I'm going to go with Anaya Johnson. I think she can provide a lot for this team, and this team struggles with their inside defense and offense. So I think if she can bust out and have a great game, like you said, I mean, we can't just focus on Quincy Noble. We have to have some of those other girls step up, and I think if she does, then it'll prove us in the next game.
Role player is going to be big tomorrow night, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Jazz?
For sure. I'm going to combine the two.
Sure.
I'm going to say we need Quincy Noble and Anaya Johnson. I want to see some pick and pop action. I want to see those two really take over the game offensively. I want to see Anaya get those boards. I want to see Quincy scoring those points, playmaking when needed. And again, just really looking for both of them offensively. I think if we can find a core offensively, then we could work on the role players and everyone
Right.
else, or whoever that second player is. I think if we could work around that, I think that'll be great.
I like that a lot. So now we've got this cool segment again where I'm going to whip out this bowl from under this desk.
Oh, where is it?
No, not oatmeal, not cereal or popcorn. It's got just a bunch of papers with little names on it. And we're going to debate start, bench, or cut for the women's team, just like we just did for the men's team. So, are we ready, guys?
I'm ready.
Ready
Mixing
as
it up.
I'll ever be.
All
Let's do
right.
it.
Let's see. First name is Jasmine Bowles. Okay. Next name, Maddie Cleary. And our final name is Brianna Davis. Makenzie, I'm going to put you on this hot seat here.
All right.
I'm going to start with you. Let me hear it.
For my bench, I'm going to go with Maddie Cleary.
Okay.
I think she had a pretty good game the last game. And she's shooting at above 30s on field goal and three-pointers. And I think shooting for our team is a big aspect into why we're kind of struggling. And so I think her being on the bench is a nice place for her. My cut, I'm going to go with Jasmine Bowles.
Okay.
She's not doing much for the team. She's not really doing anything with threes. She is 3 of 4 on free throws, which is pretty good.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, I just don't think she brings much fire. And then for my
Start.
start, I'm going with Brianna Davis. She's averaging 12.8 minutes, and she brings a little bit of fire to this team. 36 from field goal and 75 from free throw, which isn't bad, so that's my lineup.
All right. Jazz, you got anything different for us?
No, I'm going to have the same lineup. Technically, Maddie Cleary does average more points than Brianna Davis, but in the times when I'm seeing them play, I have to go with Brianna as my starter. Maddie Cleary definitely coming off the bench. And I just haven't seen much of Jasmine Bowles.
Yeah.
So, it's no disrespect or anything, but she's going to be my cut because I haven't seen her.
Yeah, I agree. The sample size of minutes here is not great. Maddie Cleary's also been hurt.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm going to go with the same. I'm going to start Brianna Davis, bench Maddie Cleary, and cut Jasmine Bowles. But there's not a great kind of minute sample size to go off here.
Right.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
So how about let's do it again, because we can do that. All right.
Yeah.
Next name is Desiree Wooten. Maybe they name Wooten Hall after her. That's what my English class is. And then we've got Grace Abercrombie. I hear they named jeans after her. And then we've got Kendall Magruder.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So, Jazz, let's hear it.
Okay, I'm gonna start Magruder. Okay,
Sure.
I'm gonna start Magruder. She's having the second amount of points on the team. She's a girl that I like to watch play. I think she could really be one of those players that steps up for us. So I'm gonna go with Magruder to start. I'm gonna bench. Who are the other people?
We're gonna Grace Abercrombie and Desiree Wooten.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna bench Abercrombie and then I'm going to cut Wooten.
Okay, Makenzie.
I'm definitely cutting Wooten. Abercrombie doesn't have a large sample size like you were saying with the minutes, so I'll just keep her on my bench due to our sample size. And then Kendall Magruder, she's already starting for us, so might as well keep her there. And she's our 3rd highest rebounder, so I will keep her in that spot.
I got you, and I gotta agree. I think it's great to have Kendall Magruder. Pick her because she's already starting, right? That's a pretty easy one. Anyways, when we come back, we're gonna go to some national basketball action. We're gonna recap some of the best games in the week in America, so stay with us. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I am your host, Jake Levine. I'm joined by Makenzie Freeman and Jasmine Grace. Nothing's changed, but this is our national basketball segment. But what's a national basketball segment without Jake's intramural recap? Because Jake always plays on Thursday nights. So, believe it or not, I had 2 games back-to-back last night. We played against Rollins and then Hansart.
Okay.
Rollins, we got the win. I only scored
Hey.
3 points, though.
No one likes Rollins.
Right,
They're
right,
terrible.
right. 3 points, 4 rebounds. Can't complain, right? 1 for 1 from the field. Second game, get a load of this. So we're playing Hansart. They're upperclassmen.
Oh.
Right? They're upperclassmen because they're in honors in Mozart. and I scored 9 points with 6 in the second half. I just want to make it known that every field goal I've attempted in intramurals this year has been a three-pointer. I'm the three-point contest champ anyways.
Sniper.
So, I mean, what's the point? Why would I go in?
Exactly.
Did you have 12 or did you have 9?
So I had 12 in total, but over
You
2
definitely
games.
said- oh,
Over 2
oh.
games. Over 2 games.
Oh, that's not what you said before
Right,
the show.
right. I'm gonna glorify it. So we're 1 and 2 on the
Okay.
year now. Anyways, back to our original content. We have some of the best games of the week from the past week that we're going to talk about from men's and women's. I'm going to start first. I chose Northwestern knocking off number 14 Indiana. Not to mention they already knocked off number 1 Purdue earlier in the week. But I chose Indiana game because I think it's impressive that they can do it twice in a row, right? Knock off a ranked team. And it happened on a pretty crazy play.
Right.
They got the layup to go, and then the Indiana heave from full court hit the front of the rim and went off. So I think it was pretty cool. And Northwestern now has 4 ranked wins, or 2-0 versus Indiana. They also beat number 1 Purdue. Their resume is looking real good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm expecting them to be ranked in the next ranking.
Oh,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they're not, then something's wrong with the rankings.
Absolutely. And they shot 14 for 14 from the free throw line. They did manage to shoot 8 for 33 on threes and still win the game. They kind of blew a lead. They had a 21-point lead, won on the last second shot. So that's what I've got for my game of the week. Makenzie, let's hear it.
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers, shout out to my family in Tennessee, against Alabama. We
Yeah.
beat them in football, perfect setting for basketball to get the win too. We were the lower rank, beat them, they were number 1.
They were.
Which ties the record for the number 1 teams losing with 8 losses
Wow.
the season since 1993. So that
Wow.
stat goes back 30 years. But also I thought this was a big game just because Alabama hadn't lost in the SEC conference yet. And Tennessee, they came off of 2 buzzer beater losses to teams. Let's face it, they really shouldn't have lost to. They held Brandon Miller under his scoring average, which Brandon Miller's a baller, so I thought that was very impressive. And then once that really caught my eye was that the Crimson Tide had 19 turnovers, with Tennessee getting 26 points off of those turnovers.
That's big.
So, big defensive game. Zakai Ziegler, he's a short guy, but he's able to draw fouls and play defense. He had 3 steals, so that was definitely my player of the game.
I am going to intervene here and say, what's in store for Tennessee in the postseason when it comes to March Madness? I feel like they do this every year. They're like a 3 seed, and then
they
they're
fall
bounced
off.
by the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
What are we going to see? Because, last year I picked them in my March Madness bracket to win it all, and let's just say that didn't end well. So what should I expect, Makenzie, from this team in March Madness?
All right, first things first, I think I would like to wait to have an opinion on them
Okay.
until the SEC tournament, just because we do have things on our resume that make us look like, okay, this team's going to make it to at least the Elite 8. But you're right, they have had a history of losing in the second round. It's just kind of the curse that's been on them. But I think there's a little, I don't know, there's something special about this year.
Okay, I can't wait to see it. Jazz?
My game of the week is a Texas Showdown, Texas versus Texas Tech.
There we
That was
go.
a really good game. Texas Tech came out with the win against Texas was ranked number 6 at the time. And yeah, it was a great game from Tech. They out-rebounded Texas, which was the big difference. They out-rebounded them 41-29, and that included 11 offensive rebounds. So they had a lot of second chance opportunities, and that really changed the game. And also free throws. Tech had 13 out of 14 free throws, shooting 92.9%, basically 93%. And Texas shot 59% from the charity stripe. So I think that was the game changer, and Tech came out with the win.
I think it's very interesting you mentioned that game. I think that's a great choice, actually. I'm going to ask you about Texas Tech, right?
Okay.
They started out real bad, especially in conference play.
They did.
They've started turning it around. You think if they keep going on this train of turning it around, they get somewhere in the vicinity of 500 in conference play. Is this team eligible for March Madness without winning the conference tournament?
I think there is a small possibility. It's not large. It's not 80, 90%. But I think there's a small possibility. Like I said, Texas was ranked 6th. They're also just coming off a W against beating ranked number 12, Kansas State.
Right.
And they had beaten number 13, Iowa State. So
right.
they've beaten some ranked teams, which are obviously about to fall in the rankings. But they've beaten some people. So they could be a consideration. Not sure if they're a big possibility, but they're definitely a consideration.
I'm gonna intervene here.
Okay.
Given Texas Tech's history in recent years, and your hypothetical situation happens, Texas Tech will probably be in March Madness.
Right.
I mean, even if they don't win the conference tournament, if they even come remotely close to winning the conference tournament, they got it.
I think
It's
they've
the
lost
name
to
on the
some
jersey.
teams. They've lost to some teams that they should not have lost
Yes.
to.
Yeah, but men's
I think
basketball
this year-
has been so weird this season.
Exactly.
Like it's gonna be interesting. March Madness is gonna have some busted brackets.
I think this is not really that relatable, but I'm related anyways.
Do it.
To the playoff from college football this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was really cool to see TCU make it in, right?
Right.
A lot of
Exactly.
people were questioning it based off of the TV viewership and whatnot. And look, they went to a national championship game. Did they get curb stomped? Absolutely. But who cares, right? Because they made it and it was really cool to see. So,
Right.
Texas Tech, it will get more butts in the seats at March Madness.
For
if
sure.
you see the Red Raiders
For
there.
sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little more possible than we think. If Texas Tech, if they keep this groove going the rest of the way,
for
Right.
sure.
I
Yeah.
think they'll have a better chance than a lot of other schools, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think we don't know what Texas Tech is going to show up some games. They could beat number 6 Texas, or they could lose to some of the teams they lost
Yeah.
to earlier. But like you said, just with their track record and the school itself,
Yeah.
their chances are all right.
Absolutely. So we're going to flip this over to the women's side now. We've got games picked for them. I went with kind of a outsider sort of one. I've got Houston upsetting number 24 South Florida.
Okay.
That was their first conference loss of the season, actually. And USF actually shot 52% compared to Houston's 41%. And Houston had 27 fouls in this game.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jeez.
they won the game on the road. And this could be because USF had 19 turnovers compared to Houston's 10. So this is kind of big for Houston. They're now 7-3 in conference, I believe. And USF is now still 22-5 overall. We could still
Right.
see at-large bid for them. But it's kind of a big win for them going into the conference tournament. What do you have, Makenzie?
All right, so I'm keeping it on brand with the SEC just because they've got some pretty good teams on the men's and the women's side. I'm going with number 1 South Carolina versus LSU. LSU got destroyed. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a 24-point game.
Yeah.
But the setting for this game was more of why it was such an anticipated matchup. You've got a top 5 matchup.
Yeah.
You've got both teams are undefeated in conference and
Yeah.
nationally. South Carolina has been ranked number 1 for 27 consecutive weeks, which is 5th all time.
Yeah.
But then you've got this great coaching matchup. You've got Kim Mulkey, who had a historic season with the Bears, and then you've got Dawn Staley, who still
Love
with
some
South
Dawn
Carolina.
Love Dawn Staley.
Love Dawn Staley. Yeah, I like her too. She's got a great resume, but both coaches did. And then Angel Reese, that name's been thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
This was the only game that she did not have a double-double in 25 games this season.
Wow.
So for South Carolina to shut her down, I think that just adds to their resume of, maybe becoming the next UConn in these next couple of years.
Absolutely. They've got a
Yeah.
great track record. They won a national championship.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Jazz, what you got?
Yeah, they're definitely the team to beat.
Yeah,
South
South Carolina,
Carolina.
they're
Just
hot
thinking
right
about
now.
that,
Yeah.
but
Love
the
those
teams
Gamecocks.
that I chose probably won't be your guess, but I chose the NC State versus Virginia game. It was a very interesting game because NC State was ranked number 22, and they just had a very uncharacteristic game. They shot 29% from the field, and they shot 75 shots.
Wow.
Which is a
Right.
lot. Yeah.
75 shots?
Yeah, 75
That's-
shots.
Holy
and,
smokes.
And
Yeah,
shot
that's a lot.
29% from the field. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why it just really stood out to me. They shot almost 20 more shots than Virginia and just weren't able to get it done. They shot 14% from 3. It was just very uncharacteristic. A lot of shots just going up and not falling. So, credit to Virginia. But again, it was just a very uncharacteristic game from NC State.
I
Right.
gotcha. So I want to stay on this brand of SEC women's basketball, okay?
right.
These two teams just played each other. We're going to talk about LSU and South Carolina.
Let's do it.
So, conference tournament comes, right? Obviously, both these teams are making March Madness. They're probably both going to be 1 or 2 seeds, right?
Right.
But we all love a little conference tournament champion. So, who is more likely to come out of, okay, why is South Carolina more likely to be the conference champion in the SEC than LSU? What is the glaring outlier that makes them better?
Right. First of all, offensively, in a game against against LSU, having 4 girls in double digits, one of those 4 being a bench player, just proves that you have an elite offense. South Carolina has been ranked for #1 for 27 consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
That's their resume right there. The 2 national championships they've won, and just what Dawn Staley is as a coach is something that you don't see a lot of the times for women's basketball. She's very passionate. She's very vocal. And then, I think South Carolina's got it in the bag.
Absolutely. Jazz, what do you think about South Carolina?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Makenzie. It's their depth. It's the fact that they have multiple girls at the 1 spot and at the 15 spot who can go out there and get buckets. I think watching the LSU South Carolina game, starting off, Aaliyah Scott wasn't doing much. Their projected #1 pick. She wasn't doing much. It was other girls stepping up and creating that deficit. So I think if they can continue to do that for the rest of the season, I think LSU is going to have to not rely as much on Angel Reese and kind of take those nuggets from South Carolina and have a more deep team perform. And I think if they can do that, then they'll have a better shot than losing by as much as they did. But
it'll be really exciting finish. And so everyone, that will do it for us today. Thank you so much for tuning into Mean Green Game Day. It's been a pleasure. Even though we did not have Sean with us today, we'll have him next week. And we'll be back to a 4-person crew. So thank you so much for joining us. Follow us on our socials at NTTV_sports and go Mean Green this weekend, right?
Yeah.
All right.